The Utah Jazz have a one-team summit, and the core of what this franchise is could not be more evidently clear. The USA can't get out of the World Cup, and Thurl Bailey, day 2 on the year with the Jazz. It's all coming up on today's edition of Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 pow.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Give me insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan. Today on the show, we will get to day 2 with Thurl Bailey, despite the much delay. Apologize for that last week. I'll explain. I want to share a little bit about the organization you're rooting for and believing in after a summit, and then Team USA falls. We'll recap kind of that World Cup experience and what it means. Hope you're well. As I mentioned, I'm David Locke. This is Locked on Jazz. It's daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. It's free and available on all podcasting apps. Thank you for all those who leave 5-star reviews. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. So I did day 2 with Thurl Bailey and never got to it last week. I apologize. I don't have a great excuse other than Thursday and Friday when I was going to do it, we ended up having, which I knew, I just didn't understand I was going to impact my schedule, the Jazz One Team Summit, which was an entire organizational event in the Salt Palace with multitude of speakers for 2 days and kind of a lot of talk about the Jazz as a franchise and a culture and who we are and what we're working for. And first off, it was just kind of incredible. Tip of the hat to Jim Olsen and all who McKinley and all who put it together, because it was just a super cool event. On a personal note, as the play-by-play announcer, like I'm not in the office every day, so I don't have the same bond that a lot of the other coworkers have with each other. It was really neat to be a part of that. And so that was fabulous, just on a personal note. You're like, okay, well, what does this mean to me? So I just think as a fan, it would be interesting to you to know two things. I mean, one, you're investing a huge amount of time in rooting for this team, a lot of money, either not to watch it on television anymore. You can do that for free, K-Jazz. But you're investing a lot of money, time, personal, so I think it should be very rewarding to know, one, that like the organization is trying to run well enough and do a good enough job to bring you success, to bring you a championship. And that was clear. The idea that they spent this amount of money, brought in speakers, they brought in this incredible Chris Wardell, Paralympic. They brought in this guy who was the, I think, chief marketing officer of Beats, who's now at Apple. I'm kind of Grady Johnson, I think is his name. They brought in, so just great speakers. They brought in people from the NBA. Ryan talked, Ashley talked. They kind of shared with us where the company was, the incredible work our sales staff has done. How I got to tell you, this franchise overkicks its coverage a great deal. I mean, this is why Ryan Smith talks about this as an emerging market, not a small market. That we're an emerging market, not a small market. When you look at the data of what our sales team has achieved for the market size that it has, it's a great example of how much success you can have in Utah, despite the fact it's not Los Angeles, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York. So there were two things that were my major takeaways. Three things that were my major takeaways I wanted to share with you. One is just like, I think if I was a fan of a team and I knew that the organization did this, I think that's really cool. Like, shows that the ownership cares about its staff. It shows that they're trying to achieve greatness. It shows that they're trying to bring people together. They're trying to have a collective energy. They have goals in mind, and this is how they plan to get there. They're not just rolling, per se, cliche, rolling the ball out and performing. The two things that really jumped out to me was, despite how difficult it is to do, there's just no question that the goal of this organization is to win a championship. And that is unique, actually. I think in many ways, when you are around franchises, they can all talk about a championship, But the truth is, it's actually beneficial. Like if you can just be top 4 in your conference, and this is what I've always said. Like I think I could, like if I ran a franchise, my goal would be to be top 4 in my conference, then kind of see if I can get some sprained ankles along the way. Like that's a doable thing. Trying to win a championship feels like it's virtually impossible. But that's clearly the goal. And part of that is pushing departments in the company beyond what's naturally expected financially and otherwise to be able to create an environment where we could win a championship. The second one, which frankly for me I think is great and makes me even more fired up to work, is a larger purpose. You know, it's clear Ryan and Ashley, once they sold Qualtrics, Ryan wanted in the NBA. He could have done it anywhere. And somehow he got the fortunate opportunity to do it in Utah. And a huge part of the mission of this franchise is to better Utah and to push Utah forward into the prime forefront of where, you know, its spot in the in you know, call it what you want, like in America or in the landscape. To take all of its incredible strengths, highlight them, and then help it evolve at the same time. And it's pretty cool to be a part of that. And it's really what sports has really done forever, frankly. If you kind of go through history, that's sports is always the leader and the precursor to what's coming. So really awesome to be a part of, to see, to be there. This is not breaking news. This is the stuff you go tell your friends about at the water cooler. This isn't kind of, oh my gosh, Colin Sexton learned a new crossover pull up. But I actually think it might be more important. The entire basketball staff was there. Will talked. Justin Zanuck talked. It was awesome. And tip of the hat to the organization and all the people who put it together. Caroline Klein was a huge part of it as well. It was really cool. And just, you know, they're on the forefront now streaming, right? Like the willingness to just go out and Ryan doesn't like the word disruptor, but it's hard to use any other word. And to be out on the front edge and to be, you know, forcing action and to be plotting your own course without any, you know, beacons showing you where to go. It's pretty awesome. So again, I'm not sure what to think about the USA not getting a medal. Like I'm like, I actually am kind of, I find it to be really significant. Yeah, we didn't have some of our best players. We've lost in the World Cup before. Not getting a medal, losing 3 of our final 4 feels like a fairly considerable story that many of us are, like we just kind of slough it off, like, oh, well, it happens. It feels as though this is like, I mean, the easy line on this is that it's like the globalization of the game, the fact that Franz Wagner leads Germany to their championship with Mo Wagner, how cool, 2 brothers, Dennis Schroeder, like Germany just won a basketball World Cup. That's a bit crazy to me. Canada's got this roster that actually is like better than ours. Like the whole time you're watching that going, oh, Canada's going to beat the U.S. Shea's better than any player we have, and their roster's better. They have ball movers. It's you know, and honestly, I just don't entirely know where to go with it. Like, is it an indictment of the AAU system? I kind of actually feel the other way about the AAU system right now. I think our players are incredibly ready by the time they get into our program. Is it an indictment of USA basketball that our players don't play together enough, and so these other teams are more collective? Like that Germany team couldn't have been together for that much time. Is it just a statement of how incredibly global the game has become? And that these other teams are just as good? Is it something really romantically awesome about basketball that the best team doesn't win, which doesn't feel like that's the truth more often than not. Feels like the best players do win. But is there something romantic about basketball, back to Hoosiers and to all these stories where if you collectively play as one, you can somehow be better than the individuals? Maybe that's what Germany just did. It's a little bit what Luka did in the Euro Cup many years back. So I don't know, but it feels super significant to me without being able, in a bad way for the USA basketball, in a good way maybe for the global game. We just don't care as much? I have a hard time with that. It was a hell of a commitment made by everybody involved to suddenly decide you don't care. Could have worn out, I guess. Do we not have big men? That could be it. Like, there could be something here that we're actually just short big men. That somehow in America we're not producing the big man the way they're being produced across the world. But that doesn't really explain why Canada would be better than us. So I don't have a good explanation, but I do think I think it was actually a bellwether moment that we should be watching to see what it means moving forward. All right. Thurl Bailey's joining us today. Tim Lacombe later in the week. 3 or 4 this week, I promise. Apologize for last week. That's what happened. But we'll get Big T coming up for you. Today's show is brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai, located 4646 South State Street, also located in Logan and in Linden. I've been driving the Ioniq 5 a ton recently because my daughter did not take it to college, so I've gotten it back. It's awesome, super fun, great electric car, great power. It's why it won Motor Trend SUV Car of the Year. The Ioniq 6 is gorgeous. I got a cool email from a guy in the Hyundai employee thing trying to help me out getting my Ioniq 6 because we all know I'm obsessed with the Ioniq 6 and haven't pulled the trigger yet. It won the Car of the Year. Those are the 2 electric cars Hyundai has. They have the great SUV lineup, with the Palisade being the beautiful, biggest one, the Kona being the smallest, zippiest, the Santa Fe right in the middle. We have 2 of those, one in each of the kids' college campuses right now. So really just a great lineup of cars. You get the most bang for the buck, and they have the Murdochs who have over 80 years of experience in Utah, making sure that you get the Murdoch experience with no regrets. Email me first if you'd like at DLock09. I'll set you up with a VIP meeting, and we'd love to help you out over at Murdoch Hyundai, located 4646 South State Street, also located in Logan and in Linden. So please stop by today and visit Murdoch Hyundai and find out, get your no regrets experience. Today's show is also brought to you by Ibotta. This is kind of cool for you. Let me give you how Ibotta works. It's an opportunity for you to go and pick up your burgers, your hot dogs for the last of the summer barbecues, for you to go out and get your new clothes and still get something back. So Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care, so you can make beating inflation, no matter what you're purchasing, a little bit easier. It's kind of cool. So here's how it works. You download the Ibotta app, and the average Ibotta user is saving about $120 per year. So that's a shopping trip or little trip or night out or a ball game. Other apps give you points, but Ibotta gives you real cash back. So go right now. You'll get $5 for just trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKED when you register. That's IBOTTA. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use the code LOCKED. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store. Use the code LOCKED, and it gives you can earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and real retailers. Wow, try that again. When you start with Ibotta, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, etc. It's all at Ibotta. IBOTTA. Download it today.
Day 2 with Big T. So at the end of the last conversation, you kind of slid in there the confidence that was gained by Lowry. There's the great story of Will Hardy in a film session says, everybody in this room understand that Lowry Markkanen's our best player? Like, does everybody got it? What did you see from all-star Lowry Markkanen last year? And what is, so he's probably the 25th best player in the NBA right now? What happens to get him to the 15th best player in the NBA?
What's that based on? Just numbers?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of yeah. I mean, he was right borderline all NBA. All NBA is the top 15 players. Then there's another 8 guys who are in that group. So I just put him in there. How does he break into all NBA? Kind of what I'm asking.
Just keep doing what you're doing. Just sorry.
It's all right. He just called you to tell you. I understand.
Lowry right there. No, I just think that being in the right situation is always important. Timing is important. Expectations, obviously, on yourself, and having the trust of the team to say what you just said, Coach Hardy said in the locker room, and the team co-signed it. And some of it's not up to you, D. Right? It really isn't.
Elaborate on that. What do you mean by that?
I mean, everybody around him's got to buy into it and know that he is the guy. Every team has to have one or two. Some teams have three. That's why they struggle sometimes, because it doesn't fit everybody in the same way, and so guys are competing. And so when you have a guy like Lauri Markkanen, who, first of all, away from basketball, I think he's in a good place. I think he is just one of those guys who he's got a great supporting cast and family around him outside of basketball. And he's just still growing. He's growing as a player, and I think he definitely has a great chance to be All-NBA. And a lot of that is depending upon how the team does, obviously. But he's not looking to go out and like selfishly show that he's the guy. It's within the system that relies on him to do certain things. And that's not just with the ball in his hands, right? He moves well without the basketball. There are going to be nights he's going to struggle. What do you see when he's struggling, right? Is he got his head down? Is he doing other things? That's the kind of guy Lauri is. And so the Jazz, with a winning season, the Jazz making the playoffs, that gets him up in the ranks, because a lot of it is not about your numbers necessarily personally, which they are important, but it's about the collective numbers of the team and how you fit in that. But he's on his way. No, I mean, there's no doubt about it that he's one of the more exciting players to watch in this league.
Let me ask you a specific kind of part of his game that I do think is kind of the next step for him. So it's two-part. One is, it's 7-1. It's hard to put the ball on the deck. Like, there's a long way for it to go. Like, you watch Kevin Durant. He actually doesn't do it that much. He kind of takes one or two and pulls back for his J. Lowry's stronger than Kevin Durant. Like, he's not as pure a shooter. So he's going to have to, like, he jumped his free throws, I think, from 4 per 40 minutes to 8 per 40 minutes. Like, that's that jump he's got to hold.
Right.
What is that learning to stay low, be on that dribble at 7-1? How difficult that? And then part two of that question is, how do you ever learn how to pass off that?
Yeah. Well, it depends on what you're putting on the deck for and who you're putting on the deck against, right? I mean, it's different if you're not low and you've got, 6'1" to 6'4" or 5 guys switched out on you. Well, it's still your advantage if you're a decent ball handler. Doesn't mean you have to blast by that guy. You shoot over him. And I think most of it, D, is IQ. It's understanding what situation you've been put in and how to take advantage of it. Sometimes the answer to that situation is just give it up. Just give it up to somebody else. Does Lauri need to be that kind of guy when he is set on getting to the basket and he's moving, that he needs to be able to pass out of that? Oh, it'll help him for sure. But the biggest thing you need to know is where everybody is. And so at 7-1, you can pass over most people. If there's somebody that height up there with you, they're not going to be as quick as you. They're not going to be able to defend you one-on-one out on the court. All right. It maybe only a few who can do that. But I would put my money on Lauri in a one-on-one situation. And I'm sure that, he's worked on being a better ball handler as well. But Kevin Durant doesn't need to be that over dribbling guy. He just uses it when he needs to. If he's coming down on the break and there's no threat, there's nobody in front of him, then he can see a play ahead. And that's really a big key for guys like that, is what do you see? What do you see that's developing on this defense that you can take advantage of? Guys' heads on the swivel, you go back door. But most people, I don't think most teams are going to leave Lauri Markkanen in a one-on-one situation a lot of times. There's so many different defenses in this league now. Guys are going to get doubled. They're going to make sure that it may be a taller guy or help coming, or you're going to blitz people, that kind of thing. So I don't know if Lauri needs to worry about, getting his dribble lower necessarily on a consistent basis. He just needs to be smart with what he's really good at. I mean, and he's not a bad ball handler, for what I think he's going to be utilized for.
I thought there's some value to maybe just getting him the ball at 16 feet and letting him 1, 2, 3 power dribble, maybe not crossover stuff, like just one, like I just felt like there was a little bit like that's the next thing is like, you know what? It's 94-94. And like, here's the beeping ball. Let's go. Like that's the next piece to me. And it was interesting as his ISO game got less efficient as the year went on, as teams got ready for it. So that he's got to counter that. Like,
yeah. And I think some of that's Coach Hardy's responsibility, right? But I also think, I read an interesting article. I can't remember where it was from, but talked about putting Lauri Markkanen at the 2 guard. And, you've got this average height of 6'10" out there on the court. May not be a bad idea to experiment with it based on who you're playing. But that's the value of having a guy like Lowry, is that you can put him in a lot of different positions, offensively, defensively. But yeah, I think he's a guy who can figure it out real quick and then and take advantage of it. He's just so brilliant, and not having to have the basketball in his hand to make a difference on offense.
He's Thurl Bailey, bringing the goods today. So Walker Kessler, is he? Do we use the word? The word where you looked at me about 10 years, 2 years ago?
Is he going to be special?
Told me that, see that guy, Rudy Gobert, he's going to be special. You called it early. How far are you willing to go with Walker?
Oh, I'm willing to go maybe even further.
Really?
Think about that. And Rudy's special was different special. His special was, what can this kind of unorthodox, quirky-looking guy be used for, and how can he be good at it? And I wasn't thinking sky hooks. I wasn't thinking jump shots. I was thinking, first of all, how much room can you take up? What can you do on the defensive end? Right. I think he proved that.
No question.
Maybe to the chagrin of other people who think that, he's got that height, but he should be able to play defense in a different way. But he proved that. But offensively is where I thought he could really be special, and his timing and his decision making and his ability to be in the right place at the right time, his ability to figure out what the defense is doing and not get lost in it. And I thought Quinn Snyder did a great job of, for the most part, putting him into that situation where he could thrive at those things. And it doesn't work that well on every team, right? You have to have the guys around you who committed, and so they got what they needed out of him. Walker Kessler, though, I thought he came in with some different things, right? Even his shot blocking ability, I thought was special already. I didn't know how special it could be. I wasn't one of those guys who was quite sure if it would translate from college to the pros. But I got him in the lab and we talked about it. Me being a shot blocker, I knew that language. So I wanted to see how he approached it. And, you often see him go up, not just one hand, but with 2. Right. So it's not necessarily a guy like Rudy who targets a block and goes with one hand and gets it, catches a guy from behind before he can get the shot off or get it to the basket. But Walker is becoming kind of a specialist. And to be that, you got to fail a lot. You got to get dunked on. And he doesn't mind that. And that's what I like about him. Now, I think he's going to be a better offensive player this year as well. I saw some things instinctive things that he was doing, like that spin move in the paint, not hesitating. It's not going to be all lobs for him. So I think that there's opportunities for him to hit, that short corner shot or that in the paint jump shot, become more of a threat. Maybe give him a 3 every now and then, maybe one in every 40 games. You treat him to a 3 or whatever. But I like his work ethic. I like the way he runs. I like how he reads on the defensive side. And so I really think that this USA thing is going to help him as well mature as a player.
No question.
Even if he doesn't get a ton of time, he's with some players that he's really going to progress.
He's Big T. Thurl Bailey. We'll get back with more talk about the rookies. Taylor Hendricks might have some similar comparisons body-wise to Thurl. Get ready for the NBA season, the NFL season, with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Things I wish I knew earlier. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easier to use. You can do everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Kick off the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL, the official sportsbook of Locked On, and also NBA props, FIBA World Cup props, all there as well at FanDuel. Remember, we've got the NFL season preview for you available at Locked On NFL and all of our college channels as well. All right, Big T, you've seen Keontae George. We really haven't seen Taylor Hendricks, but you might understand a 6'9", 215-pound athlete. What do you expect out of them in their first season?
Well, you sounded like you were throwing my weight and size out there. I came in as a rookie.
215?
215, 6'11".
Were you? Okay. Two
yeah.
I didn't know that you had 215.
Yeah, I was tall, and that's all, baby. I mean, it was. I had some skill just coming off a national championship, so I had certain things that I was able to bring to the game as a small forward, right? Be a little more agile. Wasn't really a power forward. I know they have him listed as a power forward. But in this game,
I think he could play. I think he could play a little backup to Lowry at the 3 this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays that position.
Oh, no question. And where we are today in basketball, there's no question that he can play that. He's a guy who can, be switched off on smaller guys with that size on the defensive end. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see his growth. I'm excited to see his development with the Jazz coaches. I know like you said, we didn't get a chance to see him play this summer, but the Jazz were really excited to get him, and you trust that these guys know how to develop him through the season. You said it before; it's hard to be a rookie in this league and expect to come out and make a huge impact right away. But I think that the way this Jazz team is built, they're going to need for these young players to come in and do something, make a difference. You can't just, have them work out in practice. They got to show something. They got to show why they were chosen, and I'm excited.
Your son played in the G League. You have a better understanding of what that league is, the warts and the pluses. I've said that Taylor Hendricks is really interesting to me because he's a late bloomer, and he's a late bloomer in that he was never the primary option in his high school team. He was not the primary option on his AAU team. Maybe he'll never be the prime, but he wasn't even the #1 shooter on Central Florida last year. I feel like there would be some value for him to go play 35-minute night games at times in the G League where they decide he gets the ball and he's going to go to work and we're going to run our offensive sets with you. You're the intention. Doesn't mean you shoot every time, but you're the intention. Yeah. Do you agree with that, knowing the G League as well as you do?
Yeah, I do. It never hurts. That never hurts, especially if you're a guy from the Jazz being sent down. It doesn't. It really is about you then. And right. That's what you were saying. The other part of this is the fact that there comes a point where you just have to prove what you can do, right? You've got to prove what capabilities you have. You've got to prove that you belong. And this is a very impatient league. And I think the biggest word is patience. I think the Jazz understand that their young players are going to need a lot of reps. They're going to need to prove themselves, and they're going to get an opportunity at some point to get in there and show what they can do in 5 minutes, right? In 3 minutes, in 10 maybe, and based on the situation, in 15. So that's the tough part sometimes. about being a rookie is that, you know, there's got to be patience on the coach's end to say, look, we're not looking for you to just bring it all right now. You're gonna develop. We're gonna show you what you need to do. We're gonna get you with these coaches and develop you, put you in situations. We're gonna work your behind off. But you know, I think with the core of what the Jazz have already, there's not going to be a ton of expectations for these guys that come in and just try to prove that they belong in the NBA. They belong because they've been chosen. Now it's a matter of staying, what you need to do to stay in this league, and work in the off season, work in practices, come out early and work on your stuff. And your number will be called at some point.
And we'll prove that in the last year that, like, right. I mean, I think Taylor learned that as well as anyone in that.
Exactly.
In out and out. What did you see from Keontae George, and what of it translates to playing against Jamal Murray, John Morant, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? We can run, you know, rather than playing against Freddie Ferrari or whoever it was that he was playing against in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, well, you know, I think you know, Jazz Nation, Locked On Nation is very astute, and they understand that the summer league, it isn't the varsity, it isn't the true test, right? But it's something.
Yes,
right? It is something, and it gives you an opportunity to look at these guys. As I look at Keontae George come out in the first half of his first summer league game, and just not look or feel comfortable, maybe nervous, which is normal for the most part. Now, what does he do? How does he react? You know, how's he looking when he's sitting over there thinking about how bad he's playing in the first half? And I watch him come out in the second half, D. It was a totally different guy.
Yeah.
Not sure what happened, but it's got to be his makeup to say, look, I belong here. I know I'm better than this. He didn't come out and press.
right.
He came out, he let the game come to him. And now it's like, okay, all right. And then you get to Las Vegas. And now you're already settled in. You know what to expect. You know that you're going to play a big part in what this team is doing in the summer league. And I just thought he was brilliant. I know he got injured along the way, but yeah, he definitely has something. And I think it's something that the Jazz could use right now.
Well, it'll be fun to see. Big T.
Yep.
Let's go do lunch before we start. You're the best. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
You're buying, baby, of course.
Of course I'm buying. You never let me buy, but I would buy.
I like acai too.
All right. If everyone wants the truth, if I go to lunch with Thurl, I try to buy it. I never buy. He always buys. So I find things Thurl likes throughout the season, and I arrive on the bus, the games with him. And the primary one is the acai bowl that he loves in our place right next to Dallas every time. Or this year I went a step further, in which I paid for it so that when I walked in, it would be taken care of.
You're the man.
All the little games we play with each other on the road to stay entertained. Looking forward to it. I really, I'm super excited to spend Christmas with you too.
On the road. Oh, boy. Love you, David.
Love you, man. Talk to you later.
All right.
That is Big T. This is Locked On program. Thanks very much to Big T. Send him a thank you on Twitter or X, whatever it is. This has been Locked On Jazz.